Fidelity just released their 2025 retiree healthcare cost estimate, and the numbers are pretty staggering. Almost $175,000 for a 65-year-old retiring today. So we're going to talk about these numbers, break down a little bit more detail, what it means, why it matters, and this video will tell you how to prepare. Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. Glad to have you on the show. Once again, I'm Ben George with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. Ryan, healthcare costs, we talk about all the time, and as I know, it's a big focus of what you talk about. But I think the surprising thing is only 1 in 5 Americans have even thought about healthcare costs in retirement. So while we might talk about it a lot of people aren't thinking about this topic.
I think it's whether people think about it, it's got to be back here somewhere, and it's not fun to talk about sometimes. And also it's not, are we going to spend money on healthcare? Yes. To what capacity? How much? It's a little bit of an unknown that's known. So it's again, I don't think it's a fun topic to talk about. People like to talk about their investments more or tax planning more. It's just this, even though it may be the biggest piece of it, is sometimes just not fun to talk about.
It's not. We're going to go through it today. Again, we're going to talk about what this means, what this number means, why it matters, and more importantly, what you can do to plan and prepare for this. And again, this is kind of a good reminder that no matter where you are, what stage of your life or career you're in, you got to be thinking about healthcare and planning for us. We're going to dive into that today. If you have questions for Ryan, get in touch. Speakwithryan.com. Best way to do that, to get on Ryan's calendar. Begin talking about maybe some of your concerns, looking ahead to what your costs might be in retirement, but better yet, just getting that plan in place. Speakwithryan.com. All right, Ryan. So again, we're going to drop this in the show notes. It's the Fidelity retiree healthcare cost estimate. They just did this for the 24th time. But let's start with why this number actually matters. And I think clearly you can say, well, it's $172,000. That's pretty significant. That matters. But you look back what this done over 20 plus years. Back in 2002, Ryan, $80,000 was the estimate. We're more than double that in just 20 years.
Yeah, it shows the compounded rate of inflation when it comes to healthcare costs. And I know they've done this study year over year over year. So, but I'm sure it has exceeded just in general inflation. So being aware and that 80,000 and more than double, that's a staggering number that people, and according to the article, that doesn't even include long-term care. That's on top of this. So this is just 172,000 is just an estimate from 65 on. You're going to have other care costs that you're going to have to incur. And again, that doesn't even include long-term care, which can be even more expensive. So add probably another couple $100,000 on top of that. So, and obviously you see that huge number. That's over the course of 30 years. So granted, it's not like you don't need to just have 175,000 only allocated for healthcare. You're going to have returns. You're going to, as long as we account for that in your financial plan, then it doesn't surprise you as much.
Yeah. So that's kind of a look into those numbers, and you don't want to, again, be caught off guard. And there are a lot of things you can do, but there are some common blind spots they pointed out in this, Ryan. I mentioned 1 in 5 never even considered healthcare costs as they're getting ready for retirement. But what other blind spots did you see from this that you thought were interesting?
I did mention Generation X, which, that applies to this conversation. But again, 25% haven't even considered it at all. And I get it. Now, at my age in the late 40s, do I sit there and think about healthcare costs? I don't think about it a lot. I am aware of it, because I talk about it a lot with my clients. But I'm definitely aware of it, knowing that, hey, what could this be one day? Now I think my brain may work differently because this is what I do all day long. So, but Generation X is people who were born in the early part of Generation X. They're 60. So I hope the 25% is going to be those people that are 60 or in their late 50s that they're at least thinking about, especially those people who are going to retire early. What are they going to do for healthcare, for health insurance? What does that gap look like between you until you get to age 65 when Medicare starts kicking in? And even at that, Medicare doesn't cover everything, which is a common misconception as well. So, but also, speaking of Medicare, Medicare is not free. Like there's certain portions that are free. Obviously, you've paid into it your whole life. At 1.45% of every dollar that you make goes into paying for Medicare for those who are receiving it. But yeah, I mean, we can go down, and we've talked about IRMA on shows before, but I mean, there's a premium that you pay, but then there's also, you have maybe Part B and Part D, and those things start adding up. I mean, the base that you get charged for Medicare, depending on income, is about $185 a month. Well, that just comes directly out of your Social Security check. It's not free. It's not. But then as your income goes up, so does your Medicare. So it's means tested. So the more your taxable income is in retirement, which again applies to taxable income. I didn't say income. I said taxable income. So if you have a lot of after-tax accounts or Roth, that is not taxed as income in retirement. So again, that helps out with these tables when it comes to Medicare premium. So it's not free. It doesn't cover everything, and it's not free.
It's not, and you got to be aware of that and plan for that. And I think one tool that people are maybe using a little bit more, as they point out in this, is the HSA, the health savings account. Now, although there's more people adopting this strategy, only 23% contribute to an HSA for retirement, and just 3 in 10 invest those funds. So there's still a little bit of a misunderstanding of how these work, Ryan, and really the true power of an HSA if you're using it.
Yes, HSAs. I mean, I encourage all of our clients to do a health savings account if they have access to one with a high deductible plan. So HSAs, just in short, and these numbers are pretty staggering, only 23% contribute to an HSA. And then of those 23%, only 3 in 10 actually invest. So what happens is you put money into a health savings account, and it's a triple tax benefit. It comes out pre-tax, grows tax deferred, and you take it out tax-free for healthcare costs. So what I tell any of my clients, but especially my younger clients, save as much as you can in the HSA. And if you're married, you can save even more. Save as much as you can and try not to use those funds in the HSA. Most HSA accounts have a requirement that you have to keep like $1,000 in cash, maybe it's $2,000 in cash. And then anything above that you can invest. Well, again, the list of investment options usually aren't extensive, but if you want to keep it simple, keep that minimum amount in cash and put it in an S&P 500 fund, something to earn interest over time or gains over time. That way it grows and grows and grows. So an HSA basically at 65 is another retirement account. It just says it right here. You're going to use $172,000 in healthcare costs, and that doesn't even count long-term care. So try to save as much as you can in an HSA account, and it's like I said, triple tax benefit. I wish the government would allow you to put more in there, but there are some restrictions on how much you can put in there. And it's kind of a weird, quirky number that you can put in, but absolutely try to save in an HSA, try to max it out, and try not to use it while you're younger. Again, use it when you need it. Now, if you have huge medical expenses and you just don't want to pay out of pocket, okay, yeah, sure, use it. But don't use it for like co-pays and stuff like that. Let it sit and grow and grow and grow. It's another retirement account for you.
Talking about healthcare costs and retirement and just being prepared and being more aware, as that number has jumped quite a bit in the last 20 years. And we touched on Medicare a little bit, Ryan, but I think the complexity of Medicare does give a lot of people some issues in terms of preparing for it. In this Fidelity study, again, 37% of people expect Medicare to cover most costs, which is a misconception as we talked about. And I think the stress of it is bothering a lot of people too. 55% say they anticipate enrollment will be difficult. So take us into the process of preparing for healthcare here in terms of Medicare, and just how is the enrollment process? What have you seen? Is it difficult to go through for people?
It can be. I mean, they try to standardize it as much as possible. I mean, obviously there's a lot of providers that sell it, but then they try to standardize the different, the alphabet soup of Medicare plans. And you have Advantage, and you have Supplement, and then Part A, Part B, Part D. So we do help our clients do that. We don't just sell Medicare plans to random people. Now we do sell it to clients, and we try to make heads or tails of what they're going through. So it just became a huge need. For years, I didn't have a good referral source to send people to, like, hey, this person will help you out. And I'm sure there's a ton of great Medicare salesmen out there, but we just decided to do it to help our clients out with their existing situation. So we can plug in all these different income numbers. We can plug in prescriptions and all sorts of stuff, and it'll spit out kind of here's your best plan to go with, and here's the total cost. That way you're not surprised by it. So we do help our clients go through that and navigate those waters. Once you get into the Social Security website, I mean, it's not too terribly difficult, but we still like to guide people through it and help them out, because you're making some big decisions. And, definitely at 65, you at least need to enroll in Part A. And if you're still working, then you can take care of the other parts later, but you at least have to register for Part A, because if you don't, then over time you could pay penalties. So there's some big choices to be made.
Yeah, having someone that can support you is so important. So if you don't have anyone that's helping you plan, again, Black Oak Asset Management can help you with that. All right, let's close it out by talking about some strategies here that can help reduce this burden of healthcare. We talked a little bit about HSAs, but what else can someone do to put themselves in a better position?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned, I can't stress HSAs enough. Health savings account, try to get to a point where you're maxing those out each year. Again, triple tax benefit. It's kind of combining a pre-tax IRA and a Roth, like, combined together from a tax treatment standpoint. So you kind of get the best of both features, as long as you use those expenses for some type of healthcare one day. So avoiding, depending on your income situation and retirement. Now, some people may have good amount of pensions and large pensions. Well, they don't have a lot of wiggle room on their taxable income, which is a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. But if you're basically pulling your income from your nest egg in retirement and Social Security paychecks, then you do have some wiggle room on how to plan for when you do start claiming Medicare, that you keep your income levels at a good, reasonable amount where it doesn't increase your premiums. And going back to that IRMA discussion. So what can you do from a tax planning standpoint? So those are kind of the two big things. Obviously, the earlier you save, the better the easier this is going to be. That if you save early, this 172 is not going to be as big a deal for those who don't save. So, the common things: save early. If you have access to an HSA, do it. Try to get as much as you can in HSA, and then tax planning. It does make a difference, not only from tax situation, but also Medicare premium situation. Tax on your Social Security, it just flows through in a lot of different ways. So these are some things you can really start to take into consideration to plan around it.
Yep. You can begin that planning process at Black Oak Asset Management. Again, get in touch, speakwithryan.com. But just remember, healthcare is, again, one of the big wild cards in retirement. And these Fidelity numbers, look, they're not meant to scare you, right? They're meant to kind of help encourage you to prepare a little bit better. So don't lean on just Medicare and just hope your savings will cover it. Know that you have a plan in place to make sure this is just another line item. You don't need to make this a financial shock in retirement. So hopefully this video has helped you out a little bit thinking about retirement costs. But again, I encourage you to get in touch if you have any further questions. But thanks for being a part of Perfect Game Retirement. Talk to you again soon.